Hello. Hi. Welcome to the Higher Vibe. I'm your host, Jean Rorta. This is my first live. We're super casual. I'm in my van. Yesterday was my birthday, and I took myself and my husband out to some hot springs in Eastern Oregon. But I still wanted to do this because I love to share on this podcast. So here I am, very casual in my van. If anyone's out there watching, hello and welcome. And if you're catching this recording later, I hope you enjoy. And if you are here live, feel free to send me any questions about anything I'm talking about. This is my first live, so I don't know that I'll be able to figure out the navigational technical aspect of that. But if I see some questions, I will answer them. So welcome. So there is a lot going on in the world, as everyone is quite aware of. And what I wanted to share today for the Higher Vibe is really about this new energy we've all been experiencing that a lot of people are tuned into on an astrological or astronomical level as this interstellar object that is really quite in the news a lot lately, at least for me and the algorithms that I'm shown, this object that we're calling Three-Eye Atlas, which was named in accordance with comets, the way they're named, but as we're coming to discover, it is not really a comet. And what's interesting about it is we don't really know what it is on a physical level, and that may or may not be that important. I think to a lot of people it is kind of very important to like, what is it? Well, let's figure out what this is. What is it if it's not a comet? But what's really interesting to me, and I think much more important and applicable to our lives, is what does it represent? What is the energy of this interstellar object that's flying through our solar system and creating quite a stir and activating all of us? And then what does that represent? Because as you may or may not know, this is a universe of it's a symbolic nature, right? The universe has a symbolic nature. Everything is symbolic. And there's quite a few things in our lives that we can very obviously recognize what the symbology is, and other things that we might not even recognize that has any symbology, and we might not pay much attention to it. But with Three-Eye Atlas, it's like you can't ignore it, right? It's whether you're tuned into that astronomically or not, the energy of it is so palpable. And everyone's experiencing it in one way or another, whether we recognize it or not. So I think I'm not the only one to, that's the van door opening and closing. I think I'm not the only one to tune into Three-Eye Atlas as an energetic field and recognize this immense energy of love and lovingness and awakening, and kind of like this jolt of awakening energy, like on the symbolic level, like the energetic grid of our whole planet and of each of us as individuals is getting this boost of energy, of light, really. And awareness. And so we can tie that to Three-Eye Atlas or not. You can just like pretend that's not even there and just recognize, oh, there's this whole new wave of very immense light and awakening energy coming through to all of us. But it affects each of us differently, right? We may have wonderful experience with that. Some of us may be feeling like these wonderful epiphanies coming online, or these wonderful ahas, or just deep spontaneous healings. I think a lot of people are going through a lot of spontaneous healing in relationships, maybe in their body, and just in kind of these old, deeper layers of maybe what was previously seeming like stuck energy or unmoving or harder to quote heal or to release. A lot of that is just no problem. It's just coming out, right? So that's this immense wave of really spontaneous awakening and healing and release, kind of all of those wrapped up in together. That's happening right now. And if you want to tune into that, like, again, as the symbol of this interstellar object coming through our planetary system that's being called Three Eye Atlas, there's a lot of great information out there about that. There's a lot of speculative and not so great information, I would say, about that as well. And that's okay too. I think there's no right or wrong about people, you know, speculating about what it is or creating stories about what it is or what it means. I think that it's important to recognize that some or a lot of those stories right now are coming more from fear. But I think that some very just basic, neutral, accurate information is coming through on Stefan Burns's channel. He's a astrophysicist and just has really great energy, and he's sharing a lot about it. So if you're interested on that level, it's fun to tune in. But even if you're not, and that doesn't matter to you what these interstellar objects are or the symbology of them, it's so important right now to just recognize there's something different going on, like to not just override or tune out the immense opportunity that we all have right now for awakening, for healing, for just deep growth and transformation. And it's funny because I feel like I've been saying that for years, but it really is like coming to quite a never before seen level of just ease in opening right now. There's this huge portal, we can call it, for immense growth and change. And while that's really happening for the planet, it's because we're all here on the planet, it can also affect us personally, and really does without us even trying. We can't really avoid how it's affecting us personally. So if we embrace that and really just allow that and just choose to go along for the ride, right, rather than resist it, then we can find ourselves in a place of immense growth and change. And really that allowing ourselves to go along for the ride is what gives that ride, gives us more pleasure and ease in the process and grace rather than difficulty, frustration, or overwhelm. So those things can happen too, right? If we're in resistance to the immense changes happening, which again, we see outside of us, but they're really happening within us. If we can just have those changes with grace, and allow ourselves to go along for the ride rather than resist it, oh, you're in for a treat. I think the outcome will be beyond anything that we can imagine. So, what I'd love to offer right now is kind of this connection between what we're seeing outwardly, all this immense change and really chaos, I think is what you could accurately call it chaos, right? Lots of instability on, economic levels, political levels, lots of instability. And I think on a lot of personal levels for people, a lot of kind of stretching, right? What's going to happen? Stretching in our ability to just meet the daily requirements of living, whether that be stretching ourselves economically, emotionally, in relationships, stretching ourselves energetically to meet all of the demands of life right now. But if we look at those external symbols that we're seeing of chaos and perhaps overwhelm or instability, and look within, really see what's happening within us, what those outward symbols can point to within us, then we have this immense opportunity to really receive this growth opportunity to the fullest potential and to really see some amazing outcomes. So how do we do that? How do we really see the external landscape as a reflection and look within and find what that points to in our internal landscape and use that as an opportunity to awaken, to heal ourselves, to let go of past pain and regret and difficulty, maybe past karmic patterns, lots of different ways of putting that. And one way that I've been looking at this lately that I find really, it was helpful for me to look at this in this way. I think it got me to a place of, oh, this is a way to relay this, because I see it, but then how do I put it into words, right? These words that we're using to convey and communicate. And recently a poem was shared with me at a community event I was at a community singing. And I just felt like it was so poignant and so pointed to what I'm talking about with this. How do we access the inner world of healing in relationship to all of the pain or overwhelm or chaos that's happening in the world around us? And I'm not going to be able to recite the whole poem, but it was really the first 2 lines that speaks to this. And it's a poem by Andrea Gibson. I might be pronouncing her name wrong because I'm unfamiliar with her. It might be Andrea, but Andrea or Andrea Gibson. And it begins with, friends. So many people are having to dig so deep right now to find joy. That's so important, that line. And that's why I wanted to talk about this. And it goes on to say, and I love the second line, so I'll share that too. It goes on to say, lend a shovel if you have one, right? Lend a shovel if you have one. So here's me. This whole channel, The Higher Vibe, is me lending a shovel, lending lots of shovels. I have lots of shovels to lend, okay? But getting back to the point of just this compassionate, aware statement of so many people are having to dig so deep right now to find joy. This is so important, and it really does tie into what I've introduced as this topic of this great wave of awakening and lovingness coming online right now. So it is so true. When I look around, there's so many people in deep pain, confusion, grief, overwhelm, really not in their joy, but knowing, hopefully, that they can access that and realizing, okay, they just got to dig a little deeper, right? There's a lot more layers to move through to find that joy. So that's what I want to say hello to right now is, one, just, I love that folks are digging deep to find that joy. And if you're not, if you feel like you're in the pain, that's okay too. But just to recognize that to find the joy, you dig deep, right? That it is within. I think that is the first and foremost, most important step, to realize that joy is within you. And sometimes you got to dig a little deeper to find it. And sometimes it's more on the surface, but that's where it is, right? And it's never not there. It's always there, because who you really are as spirit is joy. You know, joy is a quality of spirit. It's an aspect of spirit. It is inherent to your beingness as spirit. And so it's there. It's always there. And that doesn't mean you have to pretend that you're not feeling anything else in order to find that joy. It doesn't mean if you're experiencing deep grief or anger or pain of any kind that you find the joy by ignoring all of that. Rather, you recognize that which is always there within you, that infinite, ever-present beingness of spirit, where you access that joy, that is the deep beingness of your presence that allows you to be with all those other layers that cover up the joy sometimes, right? All those other layers of what we experience as humans. And this deeper digging that so many of us are having to go through right now has to do with what I've introduced earlier as this great wave of, you can call it just immense light pouring onto the planet right now, or immense love, right? Awakening energy. And so the more that presence of love and awakening and light is there, the more of those layers of anything else that we've allowed ourselves to become, that those layers that cover up that joy within us, the more that those layers kind of come to the surface of our awareness, right? Because they're there. They've been buried in our subconscious mind. They're kind of like parts of our consciousness that we've been holding on to, either because we've been attached to them as part of our identity or because we're just currently moving through them. When all of those begin to come out, it seems as though you have to dig deeper to find the joy. But what's really exciting, and you probably do experience that, but what's really exciting is that digging deeper, that's the healing. You're getting through all of those layers of pain that have really always been there beneath the surface, right? They've been held within the subconscious mind for lifetimes, long time. And now you have this immense opportunity to let go of all that. So if you're experiencing your joy on the surface, that's amazing and yay. If you're experiencing it like, oh, I got to move through a couple of layers to find it, that's great too. If you're experiencing like, I don't even know where the joy is right now, like, what's this joy? Why is Jean laughing so much? If it's really buried deep, I encourage you to still know that it's there, and that your willingness, your choice to go for it, to claim it and know that it's within you, even if you're not feeling it. That is an immense commitment to yourself that you're making, to say, yes, I'm going to have that. And any of these layers of energy that I'm currently feeling, experiencing, and moving through that don't allow me to feel that joy, I'm going to let those be. I'm going to let those go. I'm going to let those continue to move. And rather than stay stagnant or stuck, I'm going to let those layers release and move. And it is that commitment to that inner beingness where that joy resides, where the source of that joy is. It is your commitment to that and your yes to that and your celebration of that, no matter what you're feeling on the surface, that allows you to be present with whatever you're feeling on the surface, especially when it's just awful and deep and painful. So no matter what you're experiencing, know that you can dig deep, and there are those of us with lots of shovels that can help you out, or just offer that reminder, right? That energy that you can match, right? When you're around a joyful person, sometimes it's uncomfortable if you're not in joy to be around a joyful person, because it brings out that pain, right? And you're like, I don't want to feel that. But if you ever need a little shovel, just know that there are many of us that are really tuned into that joy on the daily, and offering many shovels. So welcome to the higher vibe. Joy is here, and joy is within you. And I am just here to remind you of that, to celebrate that within you, and to offer kind of a guiding light along the way if you're feeling lost in that path of finding that inner joy, finding access to that, or recognizing some of the terrain along the way. Because sometimes those layers between what you're experiencing, which may or may not be very joyful, and that inner joy, sometimes that space in between, right? All those layers, sometimes we can get lost along the way and kind of lose our inner compass or our navigation as we move through some of those gnarly layers of whatever it is: grief, pain, isolation, regret, hopelessness, all of the things. But the joy is always right there. And one thing too I would like to just say hello to about joy is not an emotion, right? And we experience it in the emotional body, in our emotions, as happiness, right? As elation and positive emotions. But it's not an emotion in the sense that emotions come and go, right? Emotions are like, well, the analogy is the clouds in the sky, and joy really is that sky. It doesn't actually go away. It just gets covered by the clouds, the passing clouds of our thoughts, right? And the emotions are contained in those thoughts. There are thoughts that have happiness in them. There are thoughts that have grief in them. There are thoughts that have fear in them and anger and all of the things. And so, one of the reasons I love to meditate and to teach meditation is it allows you to really realign with that sky, that ever presence of your beingness, that joy. And not from a place of kind of struggle to survive to get there. And, oh my God, I need to find my joy. Or, oh my God, I need to find. But just from a place of surrender to that which is, to that eternal beingness within you. And in so doing, you have to let go of effort, right? There's no effort in surrender. Surrender is literally the opposite of effort. It's a total letting go. And in that total letting go, you get to let go of all those layers of energy that were between you and your experience of the joy and the lovingness, the eternal beingness that you are. So I love to teach and practice that because I love seeing that joy return to people's experience, right? I love to see the light in people's eyes return. And with that light, all that light entails, all the inspiration, the creativity, the joy, of course, the lovingness, and just the clarity. There's a clarity of mind that we have when we realign with the truth of our inner beingness. And in that clarity, we're capable of creating so much. We don't even understand, I think, how much we're capable of creating as humans when we're not in effort, right? When we're just aligned with our inner beingness and that joy that we are. That creativity just pours from us with no effort and with total enthusiasm and ease. And so when you look around the world and just see what an awful mess it is, and you feel sad or overwhelmed or afraid, recognize and remember, oh yeah, we are all so capable of creating so much. And what we can create in the world happens when we're not fighting against what we see, right? Because that's effort and that's resistance. If we would like to create something new, something different, anything but what we're seeing out there, that starts within. I love the phrase begin within. That starts with realigning ourselves with our inner beingness and with that immense creative power that we have. And from there, just following that immense creative power, following that inner joy and that inspiration, and just allowing it to flow. If we were all doing that, even if just a pretty small percentage of humanity really were doing that, and there is a growing percentage of us living from that place. And I think now this immense awakening that's happening is expanding those numbers, and more people are aligning with that. When we do that, we will see so much beauty created in the world and so many solutions that just aren't going to come from resisting and being afraid of what we currently see out there. Because what we currently see in the world is a reflection of this old way of creating, right? Which is not aligned with inner beingness. Humanity has not been creating from a place of inner alignment with spirit, right? We have, as a whole, been creating from fear, which means creating from control and domination and greed, and because that's fear of not having enough. So all this old way of creating that's falling away right now. It's exciting that it's falling away. And when you see it out there, rather than go into fear about, oh, what's going to happen. And I get it. There's very real levels of, survival happening for a lot of people where you might not know what's going to come next, how you're going to create what you need to survive. And so I'm not saying to ignore that, but I'm saying have hope and know that your next steps are going to be created from aligning with the truth within you, not from fighting against what's happening out there. Because what's happening out there, getting back to the symbolic nature of the universe, what's happening seemingly out there is a reflection of the collective inner state of beingness, right? And so I love the question. This sort of philosophical question came to mind to pose when I was preparing this podcast. And it's kind of like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg question? It's, is this inner space of change, of creating more and more capacity for growth and for light within us, is that happening because there's more light entering the planet, or is more light entering the planet because we are awakening within? In other words, are we awakening within because of this immense light coming onto the planet, which can be symbolized by this energy of Three-Eye Atlas and other planetary alignments? Or are those planetary alignments happening because we're waking up? Right? What comes first? The chicken or the egg? The outer awakening or the inner awakening? And really the answer to that is it's both and. It's not one or the other. The symbolic nature of the universe is that we see out there what is happening within. And that's why, reality, there really is no objective reality in the sense that we're all experiencing very different things out there. There is more of this collective experience that might seem objective when we talk about certain things happening in the world, but how we each experience those is so different because it is based on our experience within ourselves, right? So people can experience the same seemingly outward occurrence. Let's use an example of two people get in maybe a car accident, right? But if one person is experiencing their alignment with their inner beingness, maybe they're more grounded, more present, they might not experience as much trauma with that potentially traumatic experience. Whereas if another person goes into it, they're not in alignment, they're not grounded, their mind's in a lot of different places, accident happens, their response might be more fear, more trauma, right? And so it's like the same thing happened to those two people, but the same thing didn't really happen to those two people, right? Because what's really happening is coming from what's within. And so when you are aligned within, when you are grounded as a spirit, when you're grounded and present in your body mind, your response to anything that's happening seemingly out there is going to be much different than if you're not aligned and grounded within. Because one, you're able to respond, you're able to be present and not react from fear. And when you're aligned within, your response is going to be an inspired, empowered response. It's going to come from your own creative power rather than a sense of not having any power, right? When we're not aligned within, we experience the world as coming at us. We really experience ourselves as the victim to all these things happening to us that we have no control over. When we are aligned with our inner beingness and living from that place, no matter what happens to us, we recognize I can create something new, right? We recognize I'm here to learn from whatever that I'm experiencing. I'm not a victim to it. I have something to learn from this, and I can embrace it and create something new and respond from a place of acceptance, which leads to grace, which leads to creative inspiration. So I'm really excited to see what happens during this immense time of change. And I'm really kind of looking at this window we're in of maybe from now till the end of the year, but it's going to continue, right? We're going to continue to open and expand and grow individually and as a collective of humanity. So that's not going away. But there really is this window right now where our connection to that which really I'm going to call it miracle energy, our connection to just immense healing, transformation, just spontaneous quantum healing, whatever you want to call it. Spontaneous healing, quantum healing, which means on all levels, right? And instantaneous. Our access to that is really potent right now, really more than I've ever seen it. So it is a really important time. If you don't have a spiritual practice of some sort, it's a really good time to start that, to have that. And if you've already had that, that's awesome. Keep it up. Keep creating a rhythm in your life of tuning in, whatever method you use to do that. I teach that. So many people teach that. I'm not really here to say that you should learn from me. I just know that if you'd like to, I'm here for it. But there are so many teachers and so many people offering paths to access your inner beingness. And what I would encourage you to do is to tune into your own intuitive knowing of what that is for you and what that path is for you of accessing and connecting to your inner beingness. Meditation is certainly a simple and quick way to do that. And there are many forms, of course. But I really don't know. I've said this several times on my podcast. I don't know how people are doing it right now, like without some kind of deep spiritual practice or connection. If you've been practicing connecting with your inner beingness for your whole lifetime or many lifetimes, you might find this time in on the planet to be very exciting because you're here for it. You're ready. You've been preparing, you've been doing the work for either many years this lifetime or many lifetimes, and you're here for this, and it's really exciting. And if you haven't been preparing or you've been kind of buffeted around by the winds of change, reach out to those people who have been establishing themselves really deeply in their inner beingness, because those are going to be the people, the lighthouses that can show you, like, here's your anchor. You have one too, and you can align with your inner beingness so that these immense winds of change don't blow you out of the sky. You too can be anchored and here for it and ready to be a lighthouse for others as well. Because that's why so many of us incarnated at this time, like not only for our own inner growth. It's not about, I don't believe that those of us who really signed up with enthusiasm to be on the planet for this immense change came only for others. We're here to grow too. And souls that are here now to be that lighthouse for others, we're experiencing our own immense change and inner growth as well. It's just that when we've been practicing for so many lifetimes or for so long in this lifetime, we do have a greater capacity to support others in accessing their inner beingness. And that's what I'm here to offer. And I'm celebrating all those other beautiful souls out there offering that to others as well. Because we can really grow even more when we connect with our community of other spiritual, awake, and aware souls and share that with the world as a community of awake souls. So I'm super excited to be here right now. I want to just check my, oh, look, I have some people in the chat. I don't know how this works. If anyone has any questions, leave it in the chat there. And if I can figure out how to read it, I will answer your questions. But I want to return to that quote of that poem that I shared, that so many people are having to reach so deep right now to find joy. And if you have a shovel, lend it out. It's so great. That's Andrea Gibson, by the way, poem. When I heard that, I was like, that is so right on for these times. Like, we can be that lighthouse. We can offer those shovels. We can offer that joy, but we can't do that from an empty cup, right? We still have to be in our own practice and in our own way, returning to our center, returning to that which is the eternal light within us. And so we can't be helping, what does helping from an empty cup look like? It looks like being in survival, right? About all of the pain and suffering in the world, right? If we're running around like a chicken with our head cut off, trying to help and save and save the world without being aligned within, there's not going to be much impact there, right? We're going to run ourselves ragged and we're going to really not be of much service. And so it's really important to recognize where you're coming from when you're wanting to offer that help and that healing. And I'm saying hello to this because I do tend to connect with people who are healers, right? I'm a healer. There's so many souls out there who are healers. And that just means you're interested in seeing the light and lovingness of each individual supported and recognized and known, right? Healers are the helpers out there. It doesn't mean the form that takes is something specific that we might call healing. You don't have to be like a massage therapist or any kind of certain form. But healers are souls that we deeply care about humanity, and the direction of our attention goes towards love, right? Our inner compass is pointed towards love and towards wholeness. And so it brings about healing. So that's what I mean by healing. And so, if you're watching this, you're probably a healer. And as healers, we can't offer support from an empty cup. It's so important to fill your cup first and to be that lighthouse, right? In other words, you're not a lighthouse if your light leaves the house. Meaning, if you're running out there from a place of survival to try to fix, heal, or solve whatever's going on in the world out there, or whatever's going on with an individual you care deeply about, if you're not coming from that aligned space within, the light has left the building. There's no more lighthouse. You're leaving yourself, right? So, but if you stay centered in the light that you are, that light continues to shine. And that is really what supports and guides others to find the light within themselves. It doesn't come from you leaving your lighthouse and running around out there and trying to solve something out there. It really comes from within. So again, begin and continue from within and offer that to others. And in the practice that I teach, one way that looks is with with each individual I meet with, whether I'm giving a reading or teaching a class, there's a group of individuals, whoever I'm relating with, rather than seeing something out there that I need to try to help fix or solve, I am looking at what I see in them as a reflection of something within me and beginning that healing within. Again, it all starts from within. And in the practice that I teach, I call that blowing matching pictures. So what that means is what I see in another, in their body mind, right, which might show up in the aura, chakras, just in the field of their beingness and awareness. What I see in them might light up as mental images or thoughts, emotional energies from other people. When I see that, because of oneness, because we're all connected, that matching kind of energy lights up within me. And so a healing is really just me healing myself. It's all about heal thyself. And in other words, letting go of any of those matching energies, right? So if I'm seeing fear within another, I'm letting go of fear. If I see a control energy, I'm letting go of that control energy within me. Whatever I'm seeing, I'm letting go of that. I'm forgiving that within me. And in so doing, there is that invitation, that open door, that clear path for the other to choose that as well. But I can't choose that for them, right? So as a healer, I'm not really healing you, right? I'm healing myself and offering, shining a light on what is possible within you too. But each person, when they heal themselves, that's exactly what it is. It is you heal yourself. There's no one that's really healing you but yourself. Now, it is true that God is the ultimate healer, right? I'm not ignoring God in the equation, but it is your choosing your inner divinity, choosing to allow that miracle presence to move through you and to clear that energy. So in that way, it is a self-healing because you get to choose, right? You can say no. And sometimes we do. It's baffling, but we do that, don't we? But you can also say yes. And you're really just saying yes to your own wholeness that always is within you. You're saying yes to that. And in saying yes to the wholeness that always is within you, you are allowing yourself to let go of all of the divisions that limit your awareness and experience of that wholeness within you. So that's the invitation. That is the larger invitation right now. This immense light coming on the planet that we're seeing represented outwardly in, the symbolic nature of astronomy and astrology and in the world. As that light is pouring in, we can recognize that as this immense invitation to awaken, to heal, to return to the love and joy that we are. And it's simply that. It's an invitation. It's a pretty profound kind of in our face. It might seem more than an invitation right now. But I think that because it's such a powerful door opening right now, any no that we put forth to that is going to be felt stronger as greater difficulty in our lives, greater pain, greater experience of the opposite of joy and love. Just greater problems, really, because the immense nature of this love and light, it's so strong right now that our resistance to it has to be stronger if we're going to say no. And that resistance creates just a whole lot of pain in the body and in our lives and in our world. But what's also happening is that with our yes to that, all of the pastime no is coming out. So anywhere that as a soul you've been in a place of rejection to spirit or fear in relationship to spirit or resistance in relationship to spirit. And when I say to spirit, I also mean all of the things all of the qualities that includes lovingness and joy and peace. Anywhere that within us there are those divisions still, that previous no to that previous resistance to that. As soon as you say yes again, all of that previous no comes out. It all just begins to release. And so, what I see happening in the world for a lot of individuals right now is that old energy coming out because we have already said yes. And so, as that old pain and the old energies come out, just give it space to be, right? Just recognize this is the old energy coming out. I don't have to fight it. I don't have to try to solve it or figure it out. This is the old energy coming out as you're making space for this new energy that's coming in. That isn't really new. It's interesting. I love the symbology of this three-eye atlas because one of the kind of facts about it, or astronomical conclusions that has been drawn about it, is that it hasn't been through our solar system before. It's new. It has not. If it's been here before, it was so many billions of years ago that it's not detectable. Um, and so, in that sense, this is new that we're experiencing on the planet, beginning of this immense light and love energy. But it's not new in the sense that it is what we have always been as spirit. It just might not be what we've experienced ourselves yet here in the body mind. So that is the great invitation right now, to experience ourselves as spirit within the body mind. And that does allow for and require a lot of letting go of all of those previous identities and all those previous layers of fear and resistance or rejection of that. So I invite you to say yes to go along for the ride for this great awakening and find ways to return every day to your inner beingness, to access that, to really root in to that within you. And if you have a lot of joy, to lend those shovels to those that are having to dig deep to find that joy. Please know that I am here if you need a hello. And thank you for tuning in to the Higher Vibe. I'll see you next time.